documenting my weight loss journey on Instagram for a while now, about Amanda _ but I have decided that I want to start doing videos about my journey. So, gosh, I don't even know where to start. I think I should go through my history with weight loss and being overweight. So let's take it back about how many years ago? Let's see. 16 years ago is when I went from a normal sized kid to an overweight kid, and it happened the summer I was going into 4th grade. I started binge eating. That's when my binge eating habits formed. Even my sisters can vouch for this. That summer, I spent the entire summer, I was bullied a lot. I didn't have a lot of friends. So I spent that entire summer binge eating, just having my face in family-sized bags of chips, eating an entire box of pastaroni to myself. So I spent that entire summer binge eating chips, not playing with anyone because, like I said, I was bullied as a child. I didn't have very many friends, so I was kind of a loner. I was kind of on my own. My sisters were older. They were hanging out with their friends every day, and that's really when the habits started forming, and I started becoming overweight. So I went from an average sized kid to overweight in one summer. I went back to school. Obviously, the bullying got worse because I had gotten bigger. And it wasn't until I moved to Oregon when I was 13. So at that point, I was 8 years old. When I moved to Oregon, I was probably a good 20-30 pounds overweight as a 13-year-old. And then in Oregon, it was just my mom and I. We did not have any cars, so I had to walk to school. I walked everywhere. If we had to go get groceries, we had to walk to the grocery store and carry them back, all of the grocery bags. We lived on the 2nd floor of an apartment complex, so we had to walk upstairs with them. So I ended up losing a ton of weight when I moved to Oregon. And I got down to I think at that point, I don't remember how much I actually weighed, but I can insert a picture here. What I looked like. That was my 8th grade graduation. I think I was 14 at that point. Or I was about to turn 15 at that point, yeah. So then in high school, I kind of maintained that weight until I met my high school sweetheart at the end of my freshman year. I moved a lot. So I started my freshman year in Oregon, and I ended my freshman year in Oroville, Washington, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's right next to the Canadian border. And once I met my high school sweetheart, I put on a ton of weight. By the time we were together for almost 3 years, and by the time we ended up splitting, I was 230 pounds. I was about 100 pounds overweight. So after we broke up, I started eating better and working out more. I got a job. I think I got hired at my first job right before we broke up. I broke up with him right after I started my senior year. So we were together for about 2.5 years, right? My end of my freshman year, all of sophomore, all of junior. And then the beginning of senior year is when I broke up with him. And so we broke up. I got a job. I had to walk to my job because at that point we didn't have a car again. My mom and I, she had divorced her husband, and her and I were kind of on our own in an apartment, again, on the 2nd floor. So that kind of contributed to my weight loss, and I think I got down to 180. And then towards the very end of my senior year, I ended up moving again. I moved to Manteca, California, and that's kind of where I landed. So when I moved to Manteca, I literally only spent 2 months at that high school before I graduated, and then I started working. I got really into fitness and health and nutrition. My sister was a gym rat. She looked so good, almost a little too skinny, but she helped me really get down to my goal. I was 160 when I was in the peak of my working out with her, and then she moved to Oregon. And I got really depressed. I got into a huge funk, and I ended up putting on most of the weight back. And then around fall of 2014, I started dating my kids' dad, And I was working out with him every day. I think I was like 170, and then I found out I was pregnant with our daughter. And then I had her, I think I was like 195 when I gave birth to her. And then by the time she was about 8 months old, I lost all of the weight and I was back down to like 160. And then I moved, at that point, him and I had split, and I moved to Washington with my sister. Again, so many moves. My sister moved from Oregon to Washington, and then I moved to Washington with my sister and her now husband. And then about 4 months after, I ended up getting back with her dad. So I moved back to California and put on all the weight again. So I ended up getting a desk job, and I put on a good 30-ish pounds. When I got pregnant with our son, I was already like 190. So 190 pounds, just found out I'm pregnant, and I was really sad. I mean, I wasn't sad that I was pregnant, but I was sad that I was so heavy and pregnant, because someone with my height, a normal BMI for them would be between like being 115 pounds to 150 pounds. So I was about 40 pounds overweight already getting pregnant with him. So I go through my pregnancy, and then I give birth. I'm like 220 something pounds when I give birth to him, almost 230. And now he's a year old. And when over last summer, I started doing keto, and I lost a bunch of weight. I got back down. I think the lowest I got was like 170, 169. So I was really, really close to my smallest I've ever been since high school. And then I stopped doing keto. And with anyone who does fad diets, or if you do keto and you just stop randomly, you're gonna put it on really fast. And that's exactly what happened with me. I stopped keto in August, and by November I was already 200 pounds again. So I really started this journey about 2 weeks ago. Well, that's when I started weighing in and taking measurements and stuff. And my first weigh-in, I was 202 pounds. Today, 2 weeks later, I'm 197, and it's been going really well. One thing that has helped me so much the last week is I got myself an Apple Watch. So this Apple Watch reminds me to keep moving throughout the day. I'm obsessed with closing my rings by the end of the day. It's just really motivating for me. I think I would feel incomplete if I didn't complete my rings. And in terms of eating, I'm just doing if it fits your macros. I got all my macros, but I should be eating every day, and I try and keep it within those limits. So I've been doing really well with that. I feel like that, compared to keto or anything else I've ever done, has made me the most successful, because I can still eat what I would normally eat before, but I don't have to binge on it. I don't have to feel bad. Like before, when I was doing keto, one of the reasons why I fell off is I just started binging, and then I was like, oh, fuck it, I've already ruined it, so I'm just gonna keep eating like this. And so doing it, if it fits your macros, I can still eat a little bit of what I would like to eat, and I don't feel that urge to binge anymore, because I know I can eat it and not feel guilty about it. And so yeah, it's been really good so far. Since I started, I've lost about 24 inches in 2 weeks. So in my arms, I've lost a couple of inches. In my waist is where the most impact has hit. I've lost about almost 5 inches in my waist in the last 2 weeks. My stomach, I've lost about 4 inches. My hips, I think I've lost about like 1.5, 2 inches. Everything is just slowly falling off, and it feels really, really good. So that's the start to my weight loss journey, and I'm so excited to keep going. This is my daughter, Kaya. Can you say hi? No, she's a little bit cranky. My son is over here. He's sleeping. Let me show them Liam, okay? Oh, big girl. He fell asleep on the couch. But those are my kiddos. I also have a 9-year-old stepson who will be here a bit later. We have him every other weekend. So they're my motivation. And honestly, there's another thing that is completely keeping me motivated, but I'll talk about that in the next video. But that's the start of my journey. That's where I'm at. That's where I've been. So that's what we're doing.